those of you who've been watching, all 4 of you. On that note, we're here today with Adam of Alek Finn.
Yes.
Is it Alek or is it Alek?
Good
Alek?
question.
Yeah.
No wrong answer there. I'll never get offended. But for some reason, I started saying Alek.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of remember you saying Alek, and I was like, I sound like an idiot.
No. It's never personal. It's just
Alek
my first
Finn.
initial, my last name scrambled around.
I like it.
Yeah.
Alek.
Yeah.
Play Despacito.
That probably works someday.
Right.
Yeah, that sounds
might.
good.
It's, I don't know.
So I'm really excited actually to have you here. We haven't seen
thank you.
since we played in Ventura
Yeah.
together, which was probably about a year ago now.
Sounds
Probably
like
almost
that, yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah.
Yeah.
It's
It's
interesting.
like October, I think.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
It was cool though, like how we came to kind of find out about you, because who was a hit? It was Graham, right?
Mm-hmm.
Graham Ian Ginsberg.
Oh, yeah.
As he
Shout
was
out.
on
Shout out, yeah,
Facebook.
for sure.
Shout
Shout out.
Great guy.
Love
Super
that
nice
man.
guy.
Grammy and Ginsburg.
And he was like, yo, because he saw us, we played at Echo Park Rising, and
Mhm.
he was doing sound there, and he was like, yo, dude, I like your sound. You guys would go really good with this dude that I know. And we're like, cool. And we heard you, and we were like, oh, he's way better than us.
No.
But it was awesome. And like, that was a year before we actually got to play together.
Oh, wow.
So we'd been listening to you religiously for a year.
That's crazy.
Watching you.
Yeah, watching you, watching
Well,
your every move.
Literally all the time.
I'm genuinely honored. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
I like being watched, so
You're interesting.
thank you.
Mm-hmm.
You are interesting, actually. Okay, so you're from up there, from Ventura? Or?
I'm actually originally from New Jersey.
Oh, there. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's. I remember you saying that.
Yep. Been out here for 16 years.
Right on.
Yeah.
So why the hell did you come out here?
Good question. No, actually, so
Is it because we don't have snow and people, like the stab ratio is lower?
well, the shank ratio is about the same depending
Really?
on what
That's- wow.
aspect of town you're in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's fair.
But no, that's but it is a common reason people get out of there. I was actually I grew up in a really nice part of Jersey. Actually, it was beautiful, and I love it. But there's
You
like-
think you're all tight and shit? Is that what you're saying?
that's basically What I'm saying is I had I'm that's exactly. I'm
That's
su-
cool.
Super,
No, I'm
super
just,
tight. Dude.
I'm just want to, just get everything out there.
Hey man, I love you.
I love you too.
It's gonna be okay.
Yeah,
We're gonna get past it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry for derailing you.
No, you're fine. That was a good point. No, the weather is obviously a good draw. I came out here. I didn't know what my stepdad actually was the one who said, "Hey, just your personality, your vibe. Like I think California would be a really good place for you." And then he took me on a trip here, and I actually went to check out the campus at Northridge. And I was like, "This is CSUN, yeah." And it was amazing. I was like, "This is like I didn't even know like Northridge had such a bad rap, but for me, like being where it was gorgeous and." I was like, this is an incredible place. And once I started looking up curriculums and found that I could actually take all the music classes I wanted without having to be in like a music major, you know. I went to school out here and studied theater with a focus in sort of a lot of extracurricular music classes and like scoring film and traditional music of the U.S. and jazz and histories and things, kind of figuring out what's going on. And then I kind of, by the time I was 21, I knew I wanted to do music full time and went on tour drumming at 22. And when I came back, I moved to Thousand Oaks, and then I just moved out to Echo Park about 2.5 years ago. So I've been in LA
Sweet.
proper for like 2.5 years. Yeah.
Right on.
You have a point?
No.
No. At what point, or did you have like, so you've been here 16 years.
Yeah.
And prior to that, Jersey.
Yeah.
Okay. So at what point in your living out here did you go like, okay, this feels like home now? I feel like.
That's an interesting question. Yeah, that's I think I knew, particularly now, like I waited to move to LA for kind of a weird reason. A lot of people would say, but I didn't want to move to LA until I was already like monetizing as a producer.
Yeah.
There's an energy thing that for me personally, I was like, I want to come there and I want things, not need things to happen in that professional world. So I built it up for a long time. So I lived in really beautiful places and they were great, but I didn't feel like I have a home until this place I live now. And it's just beautiful. And every day I like look out and it's like a joke. I like laugh every day because it's just such it's like living in a retreat. and
Really?
I'm very, very, very blessed to have a place there to create, and I never take it for granted.
Tight, dude.
Yeah.
Dude, you're a bad bitch, dude. That's sick. Like, cause there's a couple friends of mine that moved here from wherever.
Yeah.
You know, I'm very bad at geography. Very bad at geography. Fun fact.
He thought Mongoloid was Mongolian.
Yeah, geography is the one with the shapes, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's geometry, but close.
No,
Technically,
no,
though.
no. Geometry is like if you like if I'm born in December and you're
Also right.
That's algebra.
tight.
Yeah.
All right, so letters aren't numbers,
Right.
but I know that.
Well. Okay.
Like a friend of mine, he's from I got a couple homies from Boston and stuff, and they came out here like to pursue music and everything. And I know one homie in particular, he just told me recently that like, and he's been here 10 years this year. And he told me, he's like, dude, he's like, it's crazy because I just now feel like I'm at home.
Yeah.
You know, from, you know, being out here, I don't really, you know, it's like a different perspective. Like, I guess if I were to move to like another, you know, other town or like a small town, I'd be like, okay, you know, this is like different pace or whatever.
Yeah.
But I guess there's like this thing of like, if you're not from California or like Los Angeles or something like that, and then you come here, I don't know, is there like do you kind of put like a pressure on yourself a little bit?
I don't know, man. I think I found that LA is different from a lot of the other areas I've lived in. Like, I feel like LA is a qualifying culture. You know, I feel like you go out and you know, everybody's kind of networking in a lot of ways, you know, especially like depending on where you are in the city.
It's true.
And I think there's certain things that like if they don't recognize or they don't know anything you're saying, you know, because anybody can be like, oh yeah, I'm a producer, dude. I'm a producer, you know, and it's like, and most people, like for me, I'm on the opposite scale where I just love the fact that people do it and that anybody cares about what I'm doing is like amazing because I've worked so hard for it for so long. Like I'll never like look at anybody who's doing it, but I feel like that's what it is. It's like when you go to like, it's one of those places where when people go to those parties and you just want to have like, you know, you're trying to have interactions with people and they're like, first come up and they're like, oh, hey, what's up, man? Oh, cool. Who do you know here?
Yeah.
You know,
That kind of
and
thing.
what do you do? And it's like, if you don't hit something on their list, they're like, oh, cool. Yeah, I'm going to grab some drinks. And there's like a weird thing, but I think I've been desensitized to it enough to now be able to troll those people pretty hard. And I think that's like, I found the joy in it. And I found amazingly genuine, awesome people who totally like give that whole theory, you know, smack in the face. But that took me a while, I think, to like find comfort and confidence in myself to not care, which I think is really what it is. Is like when you're around it all the time, it's fine. But I think it comes down to like your insecurity that makes it not feel like home in LA.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, that would be my sort of take on it. Then.
That's tight.
Yeah.
The energy's so good right now. I'm feeling so good about this shit.
Shout out
You
to
know
the
what I mean?
Clooney, dude.
And the cheers, bro.
Yeah.
Cheers, guys.
Fucking cheers, dude.
Thank you, George Clooney.
You know? He was Mr. Fox before that movie.
He was Silver Fox.
You know, fucking Silver
Silver
Fox. We
Fox.
got our own Silver Fox right here. This is
It's hard to pay attention.
okay.
To be honest, with this
Yeah,
guy.
I know. It's like Martin's right in front of you.
I know.
Like, how are you even like breathing normally right now? It's
I'm just
crazy.
thinking about polar bears.
You know, is it
That's
crazy?
what I do when I like stress.
Oh!
That's what I do, dude. You know?
That's a genre of gay.
Is
like
it?
if you're like, yeah, like,
Dude, you know what? It's dark. That's. I didn't know that.
like if you're a bear, but you're like a,
But you're silver.
And then he
If you're-
died.
You broke him.
if you're a bear, but
Yeah.
you got some gray hair,
Okay,
You're a polar bear.
you're a polar bear. Martin,
but he's not full polar.
don't look at me. Don't look at me right now.
He's like an Alaskan bear.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fucking.
You know what I mean? He's like right on the outskirts.
You're
Some dude's like
cold.
trying to film him from far, but getting like
Kinda
just a little too
mysterious.
close
Yeah,
where
right?
any minute, like
Yeah.
it could just completely go south.
All I know is whenever he starts talking about One Piece, I just get like,
Horny.
Aroused.
yeah, I get a little
Yeah.
aroused. I'm gonna be real, I get a little bit aroused because it's like, you know, he gets so like passionate about it.
Are you guys the same geometry?
Yeah, we're the same geometry. Like his Mercury is in Virgo,
Mm.
and I'm in retrograde.
That's sick.
But I'm like a horse dude. Like I'm like a half guy. So that means I'm trustworthy. But then
Okay.
like he's got those scales what they're like scales like that, like not like
Okay,
on
not
a
like
fish.
okay.
That other thing.
Like the scales of justice.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
That's amazing.
you know, he's cool.
Fantastic.
Sick.
Any word with silver in it, that's what we call him. So this is some silver shit we're drinking right now, isn't it?
Yeah. So
What is it called?
Casamigos.
You can't say. I thought you couldn't say the name of it.
Cadflabla.
Anyways,
So, fun fact.
yeah.
Adam won Best Remix
Oh yeah.
for a Phil Selway song.
Yeah.
fucking
Yeah.
Fat Man Scoop over here, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to know how this went.
That's a deep cut.
Yeah.
Okay, so when I released years ago, I released a full length album, and it's gone now. I've pulled it away from the world.
Why did you do that?
Good question. I'll get to that in a second. When I released that record, a friend of mine was like super stoked, and he went to some rooftop party and played it. Just switched out. He's like, just to like see how like
How
people
the
would
crowd
react,
receive
you know?
it. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
like out of nowhere, like these two like reps came up and they were like, "Who is this? What is this?" And then they were
Shit.
like, "We need to talk to this guy." And I, like naively, I'm like, "Oh, I'm gonna get a deal, dude." You know, I was like super young, you know? And then
This is it.
and then they like sat down and he's like, "All right, so tell me about what's going on." And this is my first conversation with somebody in artist development,
Mhm.
which is super intense, and
Yeah.
it was so humbling.
It's always weird when those people show up.
Yeah. And
You
so
know?
he just literally wanted to meet and basically tell me that I'm doing everything horribly, in a good, like very constructive way. And
Right.
one of the
Yeah,
things
yeah.
he said is, right now you're marketing yourself as an artist, and I don't think, from my experience, that artists that are working and playing all the instruments and doing all the stuff themselves get the same respect as a producer. So if you start marketing yourself as a producer, you'll see a much bigger return, I think, and people have a little bit more of a different style of respect, and you're going to artist, well, how do I even do that?
Yeah.
And he said, first of all, I think you should start pulling down pictures of yourself and be more selective of when you do that, be a little more mysterious, and also start doing some remixes. So I hit up my friend's band, Captions. They're local as well, and I asked them, hey, can I like do a remix of one of your songs, because I don't know what this means. And I did it, and I thought that it had to be super dancey. And then I made one that, like, for them, that was kind of like a little trip hop, a little dance. And then another band that they had played a show at, this band called Owl. I also hit them up. They had this like beautiful tape music, and I kind of like had a bunch of drum samples that I'd recorded in a studio out in Ventura, and I just kind of like started making all this stuff. And then anyway, did a couple remixes, had mentioned it to a friend of mine, and she comes in and is like, "Hey, Phil Selway from Radiohead's doing a remix contest, you should enter it." And I was like, yeah, I've done 2 remixes now. This will be great.
Mhm.
And I spent like probably like 50 hours in the course of like 2 weeks just like making this thing. And I just was, I don't know, I wasn't like trying to do anything. I was just like, I just want to make a version of the song that feels like the title, that's not the way he did it. And then it was like number 2 in the popular vote. And then I was... and then he like personally selected it as like his favorite remix.
That's badass.
It was insane. It was like one of those moments where, like one of the people that's responsible for getting me into making music like recognized what I did, and that validation was enough for me to, know that this is something that I like. I have even my own family was there when I saw it, and I remember my dad being like, "Okay." Like this is
legit.
This is okay. Like
Yeah.
you're gonna be okay, And it was beautiful, man. Like I'm so grateful for that opportunity and that experience.
Were
Yeah.
you like stoked that your dad was there because you could be like, "Fuck you"?
No. I mean, it was a thing. I think like with any parent, when you
Wait, so you actually like your dad?
yeah, I do.
Get out.
I know. Sorry, man. He's a good dude. Jeffrey Finkel, if you're watching,
His last name
you're
is
a good man.
Finkel.
You're a good man. Yeah.
That's his
Einhorn is Finkel at gmail.com. That's my personal email. You'll have it now. Yeah.
All right. I'm just gonna say this right now.
Go ahead.
This is the best podcast we've ever done. And I'm not bullshitting. And I'm gonna say something. Twin Oaks, Jeanette, Alejandro, who's the 2 actor dudes? Robin and Ryan. Y'all, just
Wow.
fucking.
He just put you there.
I think he
This
just
is
guest
so
shamed.
good. I did.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's a word?
A
guest
guest shaming?
shaming?
It is now.
Guest shaming?
No,
Yeah.
There's everything shaming.
Okay, wait, hold on. This is a funny segue. And I'm like partially kidding. I hope you all know that.
Partially.
Is it hard
Yeah.
being that humble?
Is it hard? I was gonna say. Sorry. I
Stop
hit the
doing that.
table.
You're gonna
I hit
hurt
the table.
Adrian.
I hit the table. I'm sorry. It's the first time I've ever done it.
Nah.
It's not, is it? Sorry.
He's like, I got a checklist over here. It's
What if-
6,040.
What if kink shaming was your kink?
We're never getting this 10 seconds back.
I'm done. I'm not. You know what? I'm not gonna talk for,
All right,
for like
so-
a little while.
So Phil Selway,
Yeah.
Phil Selway.
if that would have happened to Adrian, I think he would have cried and come at the same time.
He would have cried cum.
Yeah. That's one of the things.
I
Like,
think it's called criming.
crying.
Crime.
Yeah.
Is it criming or crumming?
That's where crime originally came from.
That's where crime.
Yeah.
I don't know if I like criming or crumbing more.
Ooh. Crumbing sounds like you're like eating a cookie over someone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crumbing is when you.
Your knowledge of abstract sexual trivia is just mind blowing. Oh, I'm like inspired.
Crumbing is when you beat off to your ex
Is it?
because you're crying and coming.
Oh, I thought that was cry baiting.
Yeah, that was cry baiting.
What?
I don't know.
What's
I'm
the-
just going with what he said.
What's
I,
the what's
I heard
this?
cry baiting and I liked it.
Wait, is this a Reddit thing?
Is
Check
Is
it
there
out.
like a thing for this?
It's like r/
Add that
cry
to the-
baiting.
So you're gonna research geometrical signs and cry baiting when this is over
Okay, so
on the list.
geometry is knowing where like what states are.
'Kay.
And then cry baiting is when you. I'm gonna pour another drink. I'm gonna just stop right now.
All right, so you and I are gonna have this
That
conversation
sounds great.
now.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was cool because like right off the bat, like, so when we first heard your stuff, I remember Adrian was like, "Dude, you gotta listen to this guy. He's real good." And I was like, "What does he sound like?" And at first he was like, "Oh, he's a little bit James Blakey." He's like, "No, I take that back because I hear some King of Limb shit in his stuff."
Damn.
So like, and I remember like, I think when we played, I think like Adrian was drunk and he's like, "I see what he did there."
Mm.
You know what's funny is that I actually put a comment on that track or like on your Facebook, and you're like, "Cool." I don't know if you knew what I meant, but I was like, "I see what you did there," but that's what I meant.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, because it was
rocks and paper.
Rocks and paper. I actually remember that comment, and I remember when we were in person, you were just like, "Dude, I
Yeah.
saw all that."
Yeah.
And I was like, "I'm so glad somebody gets me." That track was so obscure. I had so many people tell me like never put that out.
What?
I hear that every time I have a record. Like I have so many people that are just like,
Every
"This
time you make a
is."
song and somebody tells you that, fuck them.
Yeah. No, I know. No, now I know. But I mean, I released it anyway because I'm like, whatever. Who cares?
Yeah.
I want to know why you didn't put out or why you took down the album.
Oh, okay. So it's interesting. You know, I think I was. It was before I really, you know, I just want to put myself out there for the first time. And it like I feel like it played its role, but I didn't feel like it was really fitting my aesthetic the way that I changed things.
Mhm.
And that's the beauty of kind of being a baby band when you're starting out. It's like you can do that and no one cares. I think that there's like a pressure that's put on everybody to like, you know, if your first single doesn't go platinum, like pull it down, you know. But it was like I met amazing people who I still keep in contact with through that record, and it was my that EP, the Mole EP, that even like made my career possible through meeting people that I met through that first one. But I think I had enough people on my team kind of recommend now that I was getting some actual press from EPs and stuff. They were saying like it doesn't really look particularly shining when you've had a full-length record that no one really cares about, you know?
Yeah.
And I think it was, at the time, it made sense, especially because, you know, the growth from, you know, the 3 years in between, I had met my mentor in between that, and he basically, like, shook my whole perspective of songwriting and writing. And so I knew, like, that stuff was like, my first demos that were kind of like it started everything, and I don't regret it, but I also don't regret pulling it down, because I think like the body of work I have now is like I feel like it's like I'm always like 2 records ahead of what's being put out.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
You know?
Always, yeah.
hell yeah.
But I think that's the fun of it, you know?
Right.
So yeah.
And it's cool to be in a position where you actually have to consider these things, you know, where
Yeah.
it's like, okay, shit, like, you know, I can't just, I mean, you always can just put out whatever you want.
Yeah.
But when you think about, okay, you know, like people are listening now, and there's like, you know, I don't know, some attention here, so I have to like be more calculated about this.
Yeah.
And you have to get into like that whole realm of thinking.
Oh my God, yeah,
You know?
it's insane. Like I think one of the moments for me that like I remember again I was lucky. I happened to be with family, which is very rare for like big things like that. But I had hired a PR company for the first time because I was like, you know what, I had you know, a couple people recommend like go for it. Worst thing that happens is nobody wants to hear it,
Right.
but at least you'll know, you know, like if they can't send it. So I found this girl was super stoked on the Mole EP. And she reached out and was like, I love this. Like, I'm going to, like, let's just do it. I was like, perfect. And with PR, it's interesting because, you know, now it's totally different from the way it was in 2012. But back then it was like, it's kind of a great job because you don't have to guarantee any results at any time.
But you're getting paid.
And obviously, like, you don't take on stuff unless you know you can do something with it. So I was, like, really stoked. But I didn't hear from her for 17 days. Into the first month of it. And I was like, okay. But at least, like, I know now no one cares, you know? and, like, that's how dramatic I am, right? It's been, like, 17 days. But she came back, and she's like, hey, thank you for believing. I sent it on a whim to Jay-Z and his blog, and they want to premiere it. And I was like, in what universe would you think to send
something to Jay-Z
and him actually like it? And
the Hove.
And yeah, and it
You know?
it was like absurd to me. And no one ever, like, I'm dealing with, like, literally on my end, most people are like, don't even put it out. Like, it's super weird. It's between 8 genres. Like, what is wrong with you? And it was like that, between that and the Phil Selway thing, like, starting out and having that kind of validation, I was like, all right, I'm done. Like, I'm done questioning this. Like, I'm going to just do it now. And that was, and then so that was when I started, like, thinking more critically about that. And then because of Jay-Z and a lot of that credibility, people actually started having conversations with me,
right,
and wanting to listen. And you know, it sucks that it takes that much because it is what it is. But
I mean,
I'm grateful for that.
having Jay-Z, which is really Beyonce approval,
fair enough. Now
is pretty sick. You know what I mean? Because it's like, you know, that you definitely want the beehive on your side.
Yeah.
For one thing.
Yeah, and it was like vicarious,
you know,
but it was still cool.
Is it? I just imagine, and everyone knows how my mind works, but
no, we don't.
Well, you guys do. When I said everyone, I meant everyone but Adam.
Yeah. I'm figuring it out.
Yeah, so check this out.
I'm learning.
When you said that, Jay-Z wanted to premiere it, I just imagined Jay-Z listening to it, and then him calling Beyonce over and being like, "Hey," and she's like, she stops doing her witchcraft, and she's just like, "Oh yeah, let me hear what you're talking about," and he's like, "Check out this music," and then they premiered it, and that's literally what I was thinking about while you were saying.
I hope that that's what happened.
Well, yeah, that would be real cool.
Beyonce does the Joaquin Phoenix and Gladiator, where he's like,
yeah.
I would love that so much. That would make them even cooler.
I see like fire, and then she's just like, there's like fire behind her, and she heard your song, and she was like, I accept it.
Yeah, and then she just turns around and the fire just grows.
And then Jay-Z like runs back and he's like,
yeah. No, it's so funny though, because like I was like, nah, that's BS, and she was like, no, like they're not allowed to post anything without his approval, and I was like, okay,
without Jay-Z's approval.
Yeah.
So Jay-Z
literally listened to a song and was like, yes.
And they did.
That's really cool.
That's awesome.
That's
crazy. Really cool, man.
Yeah.
Congrats.
Yeah. No, thanks, man. It was. I mean,
Congrats.
I wish that I had, you know, capitalized on a lot of the opportunities more. Like, I wish I knew more about the industry and how to be more consistent.
Isn't it cool though that that's like the landscape where like literally no one knows what they're doing?
Nobody knows ever.
Yeah.
I still don't know what I'm doing.
I was already drinking, but I'm gonna drink to that as well.
Cheers to not knowing what's
that's
happening.
So cool, you know.
Ever. Cheers.
Hey, Andy.
Hey, girl.
Eddie. You done with yours?
Cheers, everyone.
What up, Eddie?
Whoever else is drinking.
Oh,
hey, if you're watching this, you're drinking.
Yeah.
Cheers,
look, we got a
Oh,
special guest here today, just sitting in. We got Eddie over here.
What's up, Eddie?
What up, Eddie?
Eddie's cool.
Yeah.
Man.
What's up, dude?
How you doing? Look, you're gonna be podcast famous. JK, no one watches this.
No, it will.
No, sure.
It will. You know, because like maybe like that's the cool thing about the internet too. You know, like we can do this and say something in the middle of this, and then like maybe even who knows, like a year from now, or anywhere in the point of time, like people will be like, "Oh, this was like funny," and it's like, I don't
Dude,
know,
no,
like, it's like, or it's relevant to like some other thing. You know what I mean? Like
Hell yeah.
a homie of mine, he said that, and he's a musician and he's a singer and everything like that, and he said that that happened to him. He put out a video years ago, and somebody saw it on YouTube and asked him, and he performed on like some big show, and the landscape is just broad and open, and no one knows what's going on anymore, and you just, you know, if I don't know, you just put it out there and
I
hope for the
heard
best, right?
there was a guy actually. He worked in TV for years, and he was always laughing because he goes to all these, you know, conventions and everything, and everybody's always like, you know, oh, we got this new medium and we got this new way to promote this and that and the blah blah blah, and it's all about all these like crazy streaming platforms, and he, you know, he goes to these things like probably like 6-8 months out of the year, and he just like. He's such a smarmy dude. He's the best. And he comes in, Bill, if you're watching, I love you.
Hey,
and Bill goes, he's like, yeah, but you know what nobody has ever? Content. Nobody ever has content. Everybody has a million things that they can do with content and a million ways that they can, like, you can pay to have them do things with your content.
But
But nobody has the content.
the sauce.
And I think, like, I don't know. I don't, some of the coolest jobs and opportunities I've had is just never really, you can't look down or think you're better than anybody doing anything at any point at any time ever. And that's a thing that's like, I don't really care about your resume. I don't care about what you're doing. I just care about like your integrity, what you're trying to do, and how much
Do you give
time.
a shit about what you're doing?
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like that's really the question. Like, do you care enough to like get a team of people together at 9:30 on a Saturday night to sit in a room and have a blast? Like, obviously.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that to
Yeah,
me
yeah,
is like
yeah.
such a respect of integrity. I was like, I love it. And I mean, this is regardless, like I completely, like, I love this more than anything. And I'm not, you know, like I've had some really good opportunities and things, but I'm just starting. I feel like I'm just starting my career as an artist for the first time.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited, you know? So cheers to the takeoff, man.
Cheers to the take.
The inception.
Let's
Every
have
single
another
time
drink.
we
Let's
clink
just have another
glasses,
drink.
everyone watching this has to drink.
Yeah, that's
Drink.
if you're make a drinking game out of this.
Drinking game.
Yeah.
Yeah, look at that. Everyone in the background is drinking. Eddie.
When you were
Buddy.
saying that,
Mm.
I was getting
Yeah.
hyped, and I was just like, let's just all go outside right now, and the first person we see, let's just beat the shit out of him.
That's an L. See, and you're telling me why I got out of Jersey. You're like, I just want to shank everyone.
I'm gonna take my ring off and shit, but like, you know, just beat the shit out of him. You know,
That's like your sign of like, listen, dude, I'm gonna take my ring off for this. So
Yeah, I don't want
you're
to fuck
welcome.
you
Like,
up too
they'll-
bad. I
they'll
just want to have a
survive.
good time.
like, yeah, I'm not trying to curb stomp anybody. I'm just saying, just fucking, just like hit him a bit. Hit him in the body, like hit him like in the middle part.
It escalates quickly. Yeah.
Don't hit him in the face, you know. Just fucking
Yeah. He's got to do so. He's got to show up to work.
yeah. What,
So
like,
you say,
yeah,
I'm just going to go.
just
Yeah.
continue. Please ignore me forever.
No, but like, so you say you're kind of like just still starting out your career as
Yeah.
an artist because you've been here.
That was the part that got me
for-
hype.
Yeah.
When he's like, I'm just starting out, bitch. You ain't
I'm
even
just
seen
getting
that
started. Jay-Z said, what's up?
That's where I started. You know, fucking.
Ready to snort
That
coke out of
Jay-Z-
buttholes.
Yeah. No, that's. I mean, if there's no greater showing of excitement than snorting coke out of a butthole, please, someone show him a better way to show
Seriously,
excitement than
I
that.
can't. Can you think of one? I defy you.
I'm gonna just say give him a high five, but you know that's me.
Well,
Give a
what-
high
what-
five
no,
to
what
a
if it-
butthole.
What if you snorted coke out of a butthole and then high fived the girl?
I'm still gonna go ahead and say
Why does it gotta be a
The,
girl?
No.
the woman.
Why does it gotta be a
The
girl?
woman, excuse me.
Why
yeah.
can't I
Excuse me.
snort coke out of your butthole?
Yeah.
Been there, done that. I got the T-shirt.
If, they don't know that though.
Well, they do now, Andy.
All right.
What did you guys make T-shirts?
We silk screened them together. That's like, you know,
we
like,
did.
yeah,
It was
yeah.
a big
I'm
thing.
gonna get a T-shirt that says
We still screened them with our blood.
I see what you did there, and we're all gonna know what
There
that
you go.
means now.
And it's just gonna say like with a hyphen that says Adrian.
Yeah.
I see what you do.
Dreams are shattered and made simultaneously. Oh my god.
So I mean, yeah. So you've been out here for a
Mm-hmm.
while, and you've been producing. You worked with that I forget his name, the young fellow.
Wesley.
Yes.
Yep. Mhm.
How was that? Because I mean, that guy seems
Yeah.
to have. I mean, he's he's going places.
Wes is. I'll tell you a thing. So, his manager.
Mhm.
I never really. Again, producing was not something that I thought I was actually going to be doing. I was like going to market my solo stuff as a producer, but actually producing for other people, it always felt really weird to me.
Yeah.
It's like unless you're like huge or you have a huge record, it always felt really weird to be like, hey, look, I should produce you because I'm so good and no one has heard me, but you should pay me to do that.
It's kind of like saying you're humble.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Like
It's
I'm
like you just
so
gotta, like-
humble,
yeah,
you don't
yeah.
even know.
Dude, I'm humble as fuck,
Yeah.
dog. Like,
Humble
you
AF hashtag bros.
know,
Um,
broskies.
So anyway, like he was like the second artist that I started working with, and the amount of circumstances that led to that happening. The short version, his manager.
He's roofing you right now.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah,
Yeah,
I had no doubt that that's happening. I've already
You ruined
embraced
it for me, by the way, by telling him. But it's
Sorry.
fine.
So his manager had actually contacted me after Waiting Like a Wolf went live and that whole thing happened on my first EP.
I love that fucking song. by the
Thanks,
way.
man. And he had reached out and he was in Berlin and we like Skype called and he was like, hey, I love what you're doing. Tell me about what's going on. And you know, kind of caught up, but he at that time he was trying to have me come to Berlin and like do a tour with a label he was working at. And it just wasn't like logistically going to work for me at that time.
Yeah.
So I took a beat and, you know, kept going and I played a show and again, he just showed up at the show in LA. I was confused because I was like, we just Skyped in Berlin and this is like 6 months later. We had known each other for a while. Never had worked together past any other point aside from just hanging out a couple times. And he actually had some really great insight. I named Edgel Groves and had helped me out a lot. And then I had released my second record and he had been, you know, giving me some advice on that. And after I released the second single, I get a call from him and he's like, okay, are you sitting down right now? And I'm like, no.
That's always a good way to start a
I was like,
conversation.
no.
Or really
Why?
bad.
Right? It's one or the other.
Very
So my
polarized.
mom died.
Well, no, check this out. So he's like, I wake up this morning. I go on. Oh my God, that is.
Just keep going.
That
Just
just
don't
took
worry about what
such
I
a
did just
bad,
now.
dark
Don't, no,
turn.
just keep going. Keep going. Yeah.
We'll talk after. You'll understand.
Yeah, make me a nice therapy session.
Exactly.
So he goes, "Are you sitting down?" I'm like, "What's happening?" He goes, "Okay." So I wake up this morning. I go on Facebook. I see that you're. He's like, I see that you released a single, and I'm like, oh, cool. I listen. Sounds great. Great job. You know. He's like, wonderful. Anyway, I get a call from my mom an hour later. My mom just moved to Florida,
All right.
and she is Uber driving just to meet people. She doesn't need to work, but he's like, she just wanted to meet some people, and
That's the way we meet people.
What's it called? Yeah, so she hits up like one of her fairs, and it's my stepmom in Florida, and they start talking about their kids in LA and how they need to meet and all this stuff, and she's like, yo, yeah, you guys need to meet, blah blah blah. And so then they both call us because I'm on the phone with him and I'm getting a call from my son saying like, you need to meet this guy Edgel Groves who lives in LA, and I'm like, I know him, like we've known each other for like a year and a half. Where have you been?
Yeah.
So and at this point I'm like, why is this dude being brought in my life? Like we Skyped from Berlin, he comes to my show, and now his mom's picking up my mom at the airport. Like that was crazy. So we go out for a drink, and he's like, so what have you been doing? And I was like, I actually kind of started producing this girl named Soul, who's now working under the name Crow. And he's like, interesting. I was like, why? He's like, I have an artist who I think you should meet. I was like, why? He's like, I think he needs some like weird stuff, and I think you can make weird stuff. He's like, I'd like to see what happens. So my whole thing was I'd done a lot of rights, and rights are really interesting in Los Angeles. My thing as a producer is I only want to work on things that are about actual things that have happened to you, which is very difficult for a lot of people because most people that come in for rights from an artist standpoint, they're looking for you to have something done that they can sing on and just leave.
Yeah.
Which is totally cool. It's just not my vibe. Like, I don't want to write my stuff for someone else to sing on.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
and rights are complete song that you present to the artist, or
Well, so the idea is there's a whole school of this in Los Angeles where you meet with a producer, and one of you usually has a publishing deal.
Mhm.
Sure.
And you make a track in a day, pretty much. and then you put it on, you add it to some list, and then maybe years from now it gets placed in something,
Right.
or you release it on a record, whatever. For me, it was like, I'm like naively like, oh, let's make a song for your record that you're putting out. Most people, like when you ask them the question, like, what do you want to write about? They've never been asked this,
Mm.
Yeah.
you know, and they freak out. And so my favorite thing to ask a creative person, regardless of what field of creative they work in, to kind of gauge their level of self-absorption is, so where are you creatively at this moment? It is, it will tell you everything about them. Because if
That's a
they're
good
like,
question.
you know,
Because they
it's-
can either answer or shit their pants and cry.
yeah, which both are okay. But when they answer and they say things that are so unbelievably
Narcissistic and bullshitty.
yeah, or just like so insane. And so like I had, you know, some people be like, what do you want to write about? You know, where are you creatively at this moment? Well, I'm just looking to redefine pop. Like, it's not gonna happen. You know, like let's
Come on. That's very broad.
But Wes was somebody, you know, he came in. I remember too, like, you know, where I live is a pretty funny place, especially if you don't like, if we haven't met before. You're walking down this like little path to this little like freestanding tiny house cabin, and you're walking in this place, and you're like, what is happening right now? And he's just like, do you live here? And I'm like, yep. And he's like, okay. This dude's like worked with everyone. You know what I mean? So it's, for me, it was like, this will be a funny testament. You know, because like he's like been on national TV, like he's coming into, he's literally coming to my house right now. This is hilarious.
Right.
And he sits down, and I was like, so where are you creatively at this moment? and honestly, I was expecting, you know, I think I don't know what I was expecting. He just came back with like, honestly, he's like, I have so many songs, I have so much that I want to say, but I don't know exactly how I want to package it, and I'm just like trying to find myself, man. And I was like, that's
a good answer.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
And then he said, so where are you at this moment? And
you were like, shit.
And I told him the truth. And I think almost verbatim, I was like, look, like, I don't have any interest in making a bunch of pop bullshit. So if you really have something to say and you want to make something meaningful, let's do that. If you want to make something that's going to market and sell a bunch of records, like, I can't do that. And he literally was like, finally. And we just wrote like the whole EP within the course of like 3 or 4 weeks. And then we met a bunch of times because I ended up mixing it afterward. And then, you know, he decided to put my name on the project, which was definitely a surprise, but it was beautiful.
That's
Even
cool.
in a music video, right?
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was like, it was crazy. Awesomeness TV put us, it was the first time it was like, we, you know, walk in and it's like, he was like, oh yeah, we're going to film out here. And I just started laughing. I'm like, there's a craft service table. There's a full on team here. We made this in a cabin, man. Like, this is insane. But it was beautiful. And, you know, the fact that we got any, like, I think my expectations with the industry are, it's like, I'm not inflated, you know, like I think my, you know, my why they call it, I hate using it, it's so cheesy, but like, I just want to contribute something that's not like dreary sadness all the time, which I feel like is most of it. So for me, like when anybody listens to things, I get really excited. And with that, it was cool because he has such a devout, like beautiful, excited fan base that hadn't heard anything from him solo before. And for me to be a part of that and like tell his stories and help him do that and his trust was the most meaningful thing. And the fact that we got a video and, you know, we got to make a record is great. And the other side of it is I've never had the experience of having like, you know, millions of followers that he does. So like when he would like retweet something or do anything that like, it was, I've never
like your phone was blowing up.
It's insane. And I think like it gave me a whole new appreciation for being in the public eye.
That realm, right?
Yeah,
you know?
it's I mean, you're talking about getting minimum 300 to 500 private messages every 12 hours from people. And like I wasn't getting that many. I was like the spillover dude on the side who's like, you know, in his 30s. Like,
but isn't that a trip though that like people are, you know,
every day.
Like they stand for him so much
every day
that they want to know all the shit. You know, they want to know all the information.
Yeah.
Like, oh, he works with him. I'm gonna ask him some shit.
They were arguing about my name, whether it was Alek or Adam, all the time. Like it was funny.
It's Alek.
Nice.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
This is gonna be a really immature question,
No.
but did you ever get an unsolicited dick pic?
No, I didn't get any
Damn
dick
it.
pics, man. Yeah, I got nothing weird.
You're not
actually.
there yet, dude.
I got someday. There's still time. Like I said, I'm just starting out, so dick pics may become, you know, after a certain amount of followers that I personally haven't achieved yet. Yeah, it's interesting to see who listens to your stuff when they actually reach out and they contact you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, like when they actually reach out and you start to see who it is. That's like,
thank you, my friend.
you're welcome.
God bless you.
God bless you. God bless you
Yeah,
for this.
salute. Salad.
Oh yeah, we gotta clink one more
All right,
time.
I got
Sorry,
clean.
clink.
Everybody
Okay,
take a
okay.
drink.
Man, I'm drunk.
Oof.
I've been trying to hold it together this whole time. Hey, cool.
Okay.
Hey, cool.
Cheers.
Eddie, you're a good man.
That's
Alright.
fucking dope, though, man. That's cool. So I want to know how you connected with, or how you got hooked up with the Ventura Folk.
Yeah, so I think that's what's cool is I very like through a lot of I mean the whole tracing story would take way too long to tell, but I can say that from putting out music consistently and I was lucky that I'd had people start reaching out that just were like stoked, and there was like I met Graham, for example, because there was a festival, the Without Borders festival, or
Music.
the-
Was it Music
yeah,
on the Borders?
yeah,
Yeah.
something like that. And it was they would close down a Borders bookstore, and I remember we were trying to get a gig, but like it didn't work out. But he had like I sent him my stuff, and he gave me this like beautiful review, and then over time we kept connecting, and yeah, it was great. He was such a nice guy, and like I actually, so one of my first studios, I took a storage unit and converted it into a studio in Thousand Oaks, and it was beautiful because I started to like a lot of people that wanted to come out. I did a little bit of artist development for some people who just like, were like starting out and like, how do I even, because it's a lot. Like being an indie musician now is so different, man. Like it used to be like, oh yeah, you go play shows and then, you get signed. But now it's like, you have to be everything.
Yeah.
You have to be
You have to be
everything.
your own fucking PR. You have to be fucking. You have to run your social media. For me, is the hardest thing
It's very difficult.
because like I can't do it. I mean, Max is great at it. He won't do it for our band because he doesn't love us. But
That's not true at all, dude. What the
It all comes out tonight.
yeah, we're gonna fight because we're drunk. No, just
I'll fight, whatever.
Yeah.
Oh my, kiss you so hard.
Fight me, fucker.
Uh,
Fuck me, fighter.
No, but yeah, just all that stuff. It's like you have to do everything. You have to kind of put things. So there's this band we played with at some really tiny festival that was at what was it at? That small place with the YipYaps. What is it called?
Oh, Lexington.
It was at the Lexington. Have you ever been to Lexington?
No.
It's a tiny place, really tiny place. And like we went there. I'm not gonna talk shit because it was cool that they put it on and all that stuff. But it was funny because they hit us up, and we're kind of assholes as far as we kind of require more than.
Oh, we're the same.
Yeah.
I'm
oh,
totally
yeah.
down.
Oh yeah.
Come
Yeah,
on,
You
dude.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like we require a lot of fucking channels on the
Yeah.
fucking mixer. So if you're
Yeah.
gonna have a 4-channel mixer,
Not gonna
first
wa-
we
yeah,
can't play.
Right.
We have a lot of electronics and all that stuff. But I mean, it was cool. We did this whole thing. And there was these kids, dude, and they were young, dude. Like they couldn't even stay to see our set. They got to play theirs, but they couldn't stay and see ours because they weren't 21 yet. And they're called the YipYaps, and they're really good. We watched them and we're like, wow, these guys are great.
Yeah, they're
awesome.
fantastic.
And they blew the fuck up like real quick. And we started looking at their fucking social media, and that shit is so clean. And it's just like I don't know how I don't understand it. I personally I don't like it. I would rather see their day to day. Oh, I'm going to practice and shit like that,
Yep.
or whatever the fuck, or they're
Yeah.
gonna go on a beer run or some shit like that. I would love to see that.
Right.
But it's like you have 3 images broken up between like 20 posts or
Right.
20 things, and and you see all that stuff, and then like you have to click on one and then slide to the side, and there's a video. It's like it's like this hidden thing, and I can't do that shit.
I think here's the thing, man. My experience, and I've had a lot of like meetings with social media people.
Yeah.
Because I'm also like very gives me anxiety. You know what I mean? Like just like the idea of having to like sort of.
It's
take
really
bullets of your life.
it's Mark Zuckerberg's fault.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But it's
'cause, like,
beautiful. It's
yeah.
it's a way to connect, and
He's looking at all of it through
He
his
is.
lizard eyes, and he's just like, yes, like that sweet baby rays.
he's hearing this right now.
Fucking delicious barbecue.
He just both of his eyes just blinked and went
No,
back to
but
the.
they don't blink. They don't look at. But this is the thing, Adam.
They Edgar blinked.
They don't blink up and down. They
Uh,
blink left and right,
wow.
like some curtains.
Wow.
And and he's like, it's like, it wasn't Edgar. It was like someone was wearing Edgar,
wearing an
like
Edgar suit.
like an Edgar suit. He's like,
Damn.
This is Men in Black, by the way.
is this better? And it's just like, I don't stop changing things on the internet.
So what you're saying is right now, he's out there going, I need more sugar in my water.
In water. Wait, okay, wait. I don't know if any of you guys know this, but my favorite part in that scene is when
Why would we know
he
this?
goes, "Shut up." Is when he goes.
Everybody talks about this scene. Shut up,
goes-
Andy. We've talked about this 100 times.
When
I've
he
only
goes,
met him twice.
more.
I laugh very easily. Let me get it out. It's like when his when his wife's putting the sugar in the water,
Mhm.
and he's like,
Do it, dude.
More.
and he goes, more, and then he just goes, and then she. And then she pours the whole container, and she's staring at him the whole time. So tell me about social media.
What a great segue. So anyway,
That's my forte.
Dude, that was amazing. You're really good.
I'm
you
good
are
at
a natural at this.
There's a lot of stuff I'm good at.
Yeah, that's clearly.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I keep doing things in the hopes that someone will finally put me on TV.
I
That's
think
my
you're-
whole reason
I think
for
you're
being
closer
here.
than you've ever been
Huh?
I'm closer than I've ever been.
tonight. You ever see Hand Banana? You ever watch that? Aquatine Hunger Force?
Tonight.
You. That's what he's talking about.
This is the quietest I've ever
what's
been
up-
in a
what's up-
podcast. 'cause I'm just
What's
sitting
up?
here.
What's one of Meatwad's lines? Tell me
Uh,
any Meatwad line.
That's a good.
cheese.
Oh, that's amazing.
It's a good cheese.
I can do a pretty good call over here. Hey, somebody basting a turkey over here. Yeah, you know I'm.
Yeah, you know. So I brought you.
I want my name to be Spaghetti.
I brought you a fruit roll-up, Fry Man, because of your loss. But I just wanted to know what the hell was going on with all the noise.
Yeah, well, I guess I made you out of one of them hairs on the bottom of my feet. Oh, you got those too? I thought I was the only one that got those.
You still got those big cans? You is smuggling? What does everyone say? Wherever you go,
Somebody basting a turkey over here.
are you there now? Hello.
It's the best.
Oh,
MCP pants, man.
thank you,
Oof.
George Clooney.
Yeah, crushing it, crushing the game.
George C. Clooney, you blessed us.
Is it
This
C.
evening.
Clooney?
I just said that.
That's tight.
That don't matter. It don't
So-
matter, man.
We were talking about social media.
Yeah. Tell us what's up with the game.
I think here's the thing, right?
Mhm.
My conundrum is I was like seeing people who are really. Okay, so one person I had a conversation with that was amazing is a girl happened to me, Michaela Maroney.
Mm.
She was a Olympic gymnast,
Wow.
and she's now actually been getting into a little bit of music production and stuff. Really amazing human being. And we sat down, and just because she literally she's like, oh, because I was showing her some drum stuff, and she was like, hey, and I was talking about social media. I was like, I hate this. And she was like, dude, do you want to meet and have coffee and talk about it? I was like, yes. So she was like saying that you can be consistently inconsistent, and that has always stuck with me. And I think that there's two styles, and one of them is yeah, you do show every day. For me personally, I've found that quality over quantity works.
Yeah.
So that became the trend at some point, right?
For me.
Because
And, yeah,
there was a brief moment where everyone was just like, you got to post every day. You got to post every day.
which people
But-
do. And I think it works. And I mean, it works for some people, depending on what your style is. For me, and people would argue that it's not okay. I think when there's more of an active audience that's if there's a point where there's a demand for it, it's like me in live
Right.
shows. When there's a demand for live
Right,
shows,
right.
I'm happy to play them all the time. But
Mhm.
for me to go do it all the time, no. You know what I mean? I can't. It's not legit. It doesn't make sense. The guys I work with, the people I'm around, I can't ask them to take that much time out of their life.
Mhm.
Not to derail you, but I
go,
remember real
please.
quick, just I remember that was one of the things is that we had hit you up, or Adrian had hit you up about playing a show sometime when we first heard about you. And you're like, yeah, I'm down. That's cool, but I'm not the type of guy who's just going to
Do it to do it.
do it to do it.
Yeah.
And I was like, I fucking like this guy. Because I hate that when you just take a show just to take a show,
Yeah.
It's you're going to go. and you're just gonna take a show where either nobody's gonna promote it properly, there's not gonna be a lot of people there, or whatever the fuck, whatever the thing is. It's like, if I'm gonna play the show, it's because I like the lineup. First of all, I'm down. It seems exciting. There's something about it interests me. You know, it's not just about I need to play and play and play and get heard and, you know, by all these things. It's just like it has to feel right.
Yeah.
And I was like, I fucking like this guy because for the longest time. So I mean, Peach is our new drummer. Roger's not in the band anymore. We still love Roger. He's still our friend. We love him. But you know, Adrian and PJ would always kind of get on my ass about like, dude, like you say no to so many shows. Like you're such a dick. And I'm like, it's not about that. It's just like
it's about being calculated. You know what I mean? Because it's very, you know, there is a tangible, or maybe that's not the right word, but there are finite resources that go into you playing a live show. You know what I mean? And that could be just like, I don't know, people's schedules or gas money or whatever whatever it is for anyone. And you go and you play, and like Andy said, no one promoted the show.
Right.
You're on there with like 3 or 4 other groups or artists that do, you know, there's no sense of it. That's it. You know, the show happens and it's open and shut. There's
100%.
nothing that happens after that.
100%. Yeah. My frustration, you know, and again, I have, you know, I've dealt with the same, like, you know, I have a lot of guys who were like, hey, particularly, you know, people in my own band, they're like, dude, I wish we would play more. And I love that sentiment, and I do want to play more, and I'm looking forward to it. But I think I've seen there is a beauty to there is an absolute beauty to playing shows in pub cultures. You know, when there's a culture that's like, we go to pubs all the time. There's bars where it's like people show up there, and the show we had is one of those places. The Tavern of Ventura is like people come there.
That's right.
They know there's going to be music, and that's why I'm happy to play there.
They know it's gonna be good music.
They know that it's gonna be curated,
right?
And so they're okay being
they're just going
right.
That was a cool thing because there was traffic because everyone wanted to go out and hang out in the patio, but in order to get to the patio, they had to hear us first,
right?
Yes.
Which was brilliant, and it was great.
And it was that to me is like those are the kinds of opportunities I look for, and I've I think unfortunately there's been a lot of people who love working in these venues and playing in these venues and doing it that just go to play. And I understand like you need to rehearse and you need to practice and get in front of people, which I do love. And when you got a new record, yeah, of course, take a couple shows to like get the dust off and get it going and stuff. But there's something for me where it's like, look, if you're talking about resources, time, money, you're talking about compensation, I see much more return from putting out music on a semi-regular basis. And connecting with people through social media than I do, trying to book a show on a Friday night at a local bar just to play. But if you love it, do it.
Yes. Yeah.
I personally, like, because of the setup we have and to do it right, it's so aggressive and it's so much time and the rehearsal.
This is fantastic. Yeah. This is fantastic because I think that a lot of our friends or people in our circle or even just musicians that play live shows quite often. Yeah. And, you'll play a show and like let's say the venue bar you're playing at is packed. You might feel like, oh, this is great. This is a great show, and you're gonna go home and you're gonna feel great.
Yeah.
But what you were saying, if you put out a song online and 20,000 people listen to it and are talking about it, that matters infinitely more than the 35 people that packed that venue that night.
Maybe. I heard somebody say recently, and this is something that I think I love, because yes, you're at, like, in terms of numbers, in terms of like you can hit way more people by releasing digitally, and that makes total sense.
Yeah.
What I think somebody was saying was like, is it better to have, I think there's this like thing that I chased for a while, it's like, oh, because I experienced it once, where you have a single that like hits. You're like, oh, I need to get that thing that hits, and then all of a sudden, now I'm in this place where I'm like, no, it's not about having one thing that hits. It's about having, like, if you could hit like 1,000 people, like if 1,000 people love what you do.
Yeah.
And they pay and they hook you up and they donate and they help you in some way or another, like because they're diehards.
Right.
That changes the game.
Yeah.
And forget going for 1 million, forget going for 20 million. Like, just get 1,000 real fans.
Yeah.
That's a game.
That's what they always say. That's how you reach success.
That's how you do it.
That's the
Because
benchmark.
you need the
that's
first
rule of thumb.
1,000. The first 1,000
Mhm.
will influence.
Just reach them. Whether they pay,
Yeah.
whether they not. It's not about the money. It's about reaching 1,000 people who
Yeah.
care about what you're
Right.
saying and love what you're saying.
But that's a hard thing to do.
No, I don't think it is, dude.
I think it's
You
a
know-
hard thing
no,
to
no,
do.
no. I'm gonna tell you why.
How
Because
many
if you just,
followers do you have?
but no. That's not because that goes back to the whole like Zuckerberg shit. You know, like we're talking about algorithms and like
Eyes
visibility.
blinking like this.
And yeah, I was blinking left and right.
The galaxy is in Orion's belt.
Oh my God, that was
that was
perfect.
brilliant.
So, I mean, I'm just thinking strictly in the sense of like numbers. You know, you have almost, I think, well, we have 8 billion people on Earth.
Yeah.
So, finding 1,000 people that like what you do, you just have to convince yourself that that's realistic, and it is.
Yeah.
You know.
I think again, with everything I do, the question you have to ask yourself is like, is this, number one, is it the best I can do?
Mhm.
Number two, is this coming from a place of genuine truth? Like, am I really telling a story here?
So,
Yeah.
have you watched the Quincy Jones documentary?
Yes.
See, I told y'all you
I
were
have not
fucking
seen
up.
it yet.
I told y'all you were fucking up.
I'm gonna watch it.
Dude,
Yeah.
she did a great job. Rashida Jones.
Okay, also,
Yeah.
Rashida Jones, if
Dude.
you ever happen to see
Marry
this,
me.
please marry. No. You
Oh,
ruined.
marry you?
Yeah,
Sorry.
please marry me. Come on,
Sorry.
you know. I mean, I know, you know.
I feel like I'm in between a Rashida Jones
You
rivalry
know,
right now.
yeah.
You know what?
You know.
I didn't appreciate Hot Girls Wanted. Just saying, Rashida. You and I need to talk.
Rashida, I love you so much. I just want to hang
Oh
out.
my God.
He's gonna cry. Look at him.
But also, you feel the same thing, right? I'm
Dude,
gonna say,
she's let's be real though. Ezra, she's with Ezra from Vampire Weekend, crushing the game right now.
What?
Yeah,
Is Vampire Weekend still a band?
dude. Yes, they're about.
That's where I'm at. So she's not crushing it.
Rashida Jones is a day
Wow.
walk. Is
you know
what we
what?
call.
You're gonna bash Ezra Koenig right now.
No.
I
Vampire
like,
Weekend's
Vampire
tight.
Weekend is
Okay,
real cool.
good. I'm glad
Yeah.
that turned around.
I like Vampire
All right,
Weekend.
all
I like
right.
Vampire Weekend a lot.
Respect.
I just
Yeah,
didn't
they're
know they
real
were
great.
still a band.
Yeah, definitely.
Rashida Jones is what we call in the mixed community a day walker, which
What the fuck was that? That was an Adrian laugh. Sorry.
I mean, I don't know if I don't know
there is so much happening.
I don't know
right
if I
now.
need to unpack that anymore. But basically, it's
No,
like you
it's
know,
pretty
if you are,
self-explanatory.
yeah. Okay, sure. Yeah,
If
yeah,
you're a
sounds like-
racist,
Hey man, fighter of the night, man. So you know, and like if I'm
I grew up 15 minutes east of Philly, so that show is close to my heart.
bless it,
Gotcha.
bless it. You know,
Hashtag blessed.
you know, I fucking dude. You're my favorite. You're my favorite of my favorites.
Cheers to you.
Bless it, bless
there
it,
it is.
bless it, bless it, bless it, bless it. I don't need to go into anymore. A day walker is, you know, somebody that's just like,
we get what a daywalker is.
yeah, you know what I mean. Like I was in a band one time,
No.
and there was a dude in there that was Filipino, and they called him Rufio. And then when I joined the band, they were like, Max is the new daywalker, and I'm like, I don't know about that, but
Okay, so no joke. I worked at a
Mhm.
macaroni grill years and years ago. Rufio used to
Romano's
come in there.
Macaroni Grill.
Yeah, Rufio
Can I
used to
say-
come in there. The actual Rufio.
Nice.
Is he still in good shape?
He's a man. Yeah.
He's a-
I was
He's
always
a-
with. He
still
was
looks
always
like
with.
a boy though.
Wait, wasn't
Dude,
he?
he seriously hasn't aged, and
Yeah,
his
he-
girlfriend was a smoking hot babe,
Wasn't he?
crushing it.
Wasn't he in another like Disney Channel movie? Like was
Probably.
he was either Brink or it was the snowboarding one? I'm
Yeah.
the only person in this room that's gonna know this.
You're following
gonna
his
stop.
career, which means enough.
Nah, yeah, he's cool.
You're part of his 1,000.
That's right. Yeah. I'll stand for Rufio.
my,
that was
brilliant. I feel like we've all learned something tonight. I think we're all part of someone's 1,000.
Yeah,
And
we
here,
are.
think about that.
Holy shit!
You're all part of someone's 1,000.
Yep. Why don't you just try to be part of ours,
Oh my god.
motherfucker?
Ugh. Okay, you want me to drop another bomb right now?
Go for it.
Having this discussion with someone the other day, talking about existential things. I don't know if you guys are into
I
that.
love
Let's,
existential.
Okay,
shit.
let's
so
do this.
So
Go for it.
here's the thing. Friend asked me. She says, "What do you think the happiest time in your life is? The happiest times? When are they?" I think that this was what I came to after this discussion with her and a couple other friends. I think I would argue almost the best secret to life is momentum. Happiness is about momentum, meaningful momentum. Like working towards something that you already know is going to happen, knowing it's happening, and like having that feeling of pride, excitement, and joy. The best times in life are when you are like hustling, working for something that you see it. You see the light at the end of the tunnel. You know what's happening. It's not there yet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But you like the expectations are irrelevant because it's like this is happening and I work for that thing and it's coming. That's like one of the coolest things in your life. And now I've realized, like, after kind of like burning out a little bit at the end of last year, doing a lot of corporate work and producing and working for other people, which was great, but it's just very draining.
Yeah.
And like getting back to working on my own stuff. And for the first time in a long time, I was like, I'm making my music and it feels like a need. Like I'm like listening to chorus takes and I'm like, I listened to a chorus take and it only happened one time and I was like, I mean, are people really gonna want to listen to that? How many streams is this gonna get? And I was like, oh God,
who the fuck am I?
Who is this
Yeah,
idiot?
yeah.
And that's when I was like, something's wrong. Like I got to stop. And I just stopped and I just took a hiatus for like 6 months.
Because of that one thought.
Because I knew I was wrong. This is a wrong creative space and I had to figure out how to fix my life to do that. And momentum is the key, and knowing that, like, you know what, I have to fix my reasoning for doing this, and I need realistic goals that are attainable, and I need momentum that is meaningful, and I know that I can achieve these things. So it was like, how do I do that? How do I get that back? And it took me a while to figure out, but I found it, and now my momentum is in a beautiful place, and I'm surrounded by people who definitely call me out and will challenge the shit out of it, but also completely believe in what I do, and I have a team of people that work with me and help me, you know, do what I do, that are just like, man, like, hit it harder. And now I'm going to be consistent, and you know, I made the choice to be an artist full time. Solo artist, like that's what I'm gonna do full time now, and to and to do that means, you know, like realizing that it's gonna take time and it's a long game, but I wouldn't have it any other way, because I would rather have meaningful momentum in my life than try to play a long game doing things that are romantic and that are great on paper but I'm not actually enjoying.
This is my one of my main things with like creative endeavors is that if you are not actively pursuing or working within like there's always something that's going to give you back 100% of that like teenage excitement. Where you're stoked.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you'll sleep like 4 hours and you're like, I cannot sleep.
Yeah.
I had this idea and I had to go for it. And I had to like call people and be like, yo, can you come in right now? And like, please, can we do this thing right now? It's crazy.
Are you familiar with, all right, I'm going to butcher this like a motherfucker because I'm a little buzzed.
I'm doing great.
Do you know?
You're doing the best.
Do you guys know?
I told him like often.
Do you know who? Yeah, he does. Do you know who Arthur Rimbaud is?
Arthur Rimbaud.
I don't.
Arthur Rimbaud. He was this goth poet from like the 1800s. Because, you know, I was a little goth teenager. I used to wear eyeliner and all that shit.
I'm glad that you're embracing it now again.
Oh, dude, I'm
nice.
so.
Good.
I wear my
He's
docs.
got
Like
docs.
I've been like. Oh, I've been on it, dude. I'm like, I'm experiencing my midlife crisis 20 years too early. Like I'm
That's actually
full on
no,
it.
I can relate to that.
All right.
You know what's
That's
crazy is you don't really know if it's your midlife crisis.
You're right.
And that's pretty
it
dark.
could be.
But
I'm gonna be dead in 30 years, and you know
For
what?
everyone that's crying right now at home watching this, it's okay.
It's okay.
Everything's gonna be okay.
we're all here for a good time, not a long time.
But Arthur Rimbaud said this, and I'm gonna butcher it because I don't remember it verbatim. But he said that true.
It's the best preface of all time.
I'm gonna butcher this, but
He said true artistry is being able to recall the experience of being a child at any moment.
holy shit! I can't deal with it.
I actually get that. Yeah, like that's
Yeah,
like
that's true.
it's
That's
when you yeah, that is amazing. That is amazing. Like there was a teacher I had at CSUN actually. He was talking about how, you know, when that moment in your life when you are playing a game and like you're playing a make-believe game, you know, like cops and robbers or whatever, and you stop believing that you're the actual cop. Like, you know, like you're like a kid and you're like playing cops and robbers, you're like, I'm a cop right now. Excuse me, sir, you need to pull over. But then there's like a moment in your childhood where you're like, I'm not a cop. I'm a kid. I'm outside in the sun. I'm an idiot loser. It's like a weird thing that happens. And it's like, I remember he was just like, yeah, just forget about that idiot. Get your imagination back. Like I think as adults, we're like constantly chasing imagination.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that I recently, I actually really relate to it because, I worked my whole life to get to this point where like I'm making music full time. It was like a romantic, and I think that I had thought for years, and it's not anybody's fault. I don't blame anybody but myself. Like career really defines you in this country. That's how I felt. Yeah. Like it's like if you're not if you're not this thing, this is like who you are. Working in these jobs, you're a loser. But it's like the funny thing is like. First of all, who gives a shit if you're happy? Number two, like, I don't care
you're never really going to be happy anyway.
Let's be real.
Even if you're going to be an artist full time, that means enduring a lot of self-loathing.
Yes, you have to hate it. That's like, but that's the thing about it. And so I remember I had this moment where I was like, I don't love this. Like it was like, this is like, I turned the thing that I love doing the most in this world into a stress. Like literally like to a point where it's like, you're making a record going like, oh God, like if this doesn't actually do anything, how am I going to eat? Like those are horrible questions you want to have to ask when you're making it. And I was like, this is not me. This is not the way I create. And
it's not why you create.
It's not why I do it. And it was all wrong. But that's how I found it, and that's why I'm grateful for how I got there. But that moment of realizing, like, I want to have fun, and how do I get fun in my life on a regular basis and have a routine every day that makes sure that I have a good time at some point? Like, that's really like that's it, And that's where I've been. Like, I haven't put out music in 3 years as a solo artist because I've been figuring out how to have fun. And I had beauty, and I worked with, and I explored. I got to work amazing jobs. Like I've had amazing opportunities. Like to like quit your day job and go immediately to like working with an artist who's like super well established doing it, to like making an app that's like millions of people have used all over the world, and it won a Webby, which is crazy.
Wow, dude.
Yeah, and it's like and I don't see anything with that or anything, but it's just like it's amazing to do that, and then come back on the other side and be like, yeah. I kind of just want to sit back in my room and make fucking weird records again. Right. You know what I mean? Like, it's like all that doesn't even matter. It doesn't matter. It's just shit. Really, what matters is like loving what you do. Absolutely. And that's my favorite part about being an indie musician, being independent, is you create your own timelines, you do what feels good, you post shit when it feels good, and at the end of the day, like, just hit people with that real part of you. And when you're having fun and you're doing what feels good, and whatever you got to do to make it happen, whatever resources you do, whatever jobs you got to work, whatever you do, who cares? Have a good time, make some stuff that means something, and that's the legacy. That's what really matters.
I absolutely agree. Actually, bravo.
Fucking A, dude.
Well said.
Yeah, very good,
said.
man.
Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you.
Well said. See, stop crying, you fucking pussy.
Dude.
Do what he's saying.
Yeah, I'm in. I support it.
Everyone should do acid one time, at least.
I had a guy that was like, I've had people like offer acid before. There was like one guy who was like aggressively like, I'm not going to trust you
until
you do acid. I don't know you until you've done acid. I was like, Jeremy, this is borderline weird. Yeah. He was like, no.
It's not for me.
No.
You're borderline weird because you're not taking acid.
Look, why does your voice get so low whenever you talk about acid? Don't worry about it. Somebody baked some turkey over here. And then this paper.
I just went there because you went there.
Dude, I support it so hard.
I need complete concentration or the child will die. Remember that when he got the big brain and he was flipping the car?
Oh my God.
Drugs.
But for real though, like,
real quick, because
no.
Go ahead,
I just want to say this, like seriously, and I'm speaking this into fruition. I hope that it happens.
Do it.
Like, when you're done with 8th grade and you're getting ready to start 9th grade, that might be a little early in life. I don't know, but anywho, do some acid.
Oh God. At that point, you might still think you're an actual cop. And it's going to end horribly.
And then you're going to shoot black people.
What's the good?
I don't think I've ever heard anybody laugh that hard at I think you're going to shoot black people before.
No, you didn't look at his face.
No, I saw his face. I don't think you could miss that face.
I did that for a freeze frame, like just in case for the like.
What was
that? I thought it was like a happy Robert De Niro.
No, I don't know. It's not even. You know what?
That was like an ambivalent Robert De Niro that you just did. He was like, I don't know, maybe.
Why not?
I don't know. I don't remember anything we said last hour.
No,
and a
you were
half.
telling 8th graders to do acid. I think is where we stopped.
Yeah, that's where
Oh,
we
is
stopped.
that bad advice?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm going
That's
to go
too-
ahead
is
and
that
say
too-
very affirmatively, don't do
Be-
acid,
look.
8th graders.
That's fair.
It's not time.
It's not the time for that.
It's not time. You know what? Go
What's-
out, live on your own, work a job, hate your life, hate your parents, hate fucking everything, wonder why the fuck you're here,
okay.
and then take acid.
Okay,
You'll be
okay,
like,
okay.
"Ah."
I get it. Okay. When you're
So-
alone and you're thinking your thoughts, that's, I don't know.
Like, what would you call light if there was no dark?
I don't know if you would know.
You just call it.
I don't know if you'd know there was anything happening. Yeah. Yeah.
That's the sound you make when the bright lights come on. I
That's
guess
what
that's
happens with
probably,
me.
Yeah. That's about
What
right.
happens when bright lights go on? I go. That's what I do
You're straight up
because I'm
vampire.
goth as fuck. I'm sorry.
Is that your user, Goth AF?
Yes.
Yeah.
Goth
Oh,
AF.
wow.
Sick.
Hit me up on AIM.
Oh, dude, I'm totally gonna hit you up. I can't wait. I think I still have one. It's like a Fink dog in Cali.
Nice.
This is another deep cut.
Here's like a really embarrassing thing. I didn't make my AIM, right?
Oh,
Because I didn't know how to do it.
oh,
made your
dear.
My buddy, his name is Daniel Nares. I haven't spoken to him in fucking years. We used to call him-
Daniel
Nards.
Nards.
We used to call him Silent Bob because
I would
he
have called him
didn't talk.
Totes Narnar. Just FYI.
Totes Narnar.
Yeah.
Damn, that's a good one.
Sorry, dude. That's what I would have called him.
We called him Silent Bob, and he looked nothing like Kevin
He's
Smith.
Totes Narnar now.
So Toast Narnar made
Narn-
my shit.
Narnar
Hey.
Binks.
Narnar. Ah.
Sorry, dude. I'm just gonna keep throwing these out.
Narnar Binks. That's tight.
The longest narc.
That's right.
I do this all night.
He can do it all night. So he made mine, and he was like, "What do you want your username to be?" I was like, "What the fuck is a username?"
Oh shit.
Whoa.
And he's like, "You play guitar?" And I was like, "Yeah, I do." And he was like, "You smoke pot?" And I was like, "Yep." And he's like, "Guitar Lover 420."
Man, this guy is good. I wish he would do that for me. What? Dude, why did nobody start that business?
What?
Dude, AIM. Dude, you could have been an AIM
Like,
username
yeah,
generator.
right,
Like you could
right.
help people that are just like, because you know you've all had it, like coming up with band names.
Yeah.
Okay, what do you like?
You know-
Cheese. What do you listen to music? Yeah. What time were you born? 8:30. All right, Manchego Jazz, 8:30. Like, oh, dude, I love this. It's perfect.
You know what? The funniest part about that to me is that username was available.
Right?
Not after this podcast. Somebody, when you guys
It's
hit
still
up,
taken, bitch.
when you hit up Manchego Jazz 8:30, just remember that he is a saint, and he loves cheese jazz, and he was born at 8:30.
Who doesn't love cheese jazz?
I mean, those go hand in hand.
It's the best.
Eating some fancy cheese.
I
you
was
want some
raised on
jazz.
that, dude. I was raised on easy listening jazz. Do you ever listen to Dave Benoit? Do you know who that is?
I do know. I
Dave
don't want to tell
Grusin?
you why.
Dave
Morning-
Grusin, Don
morning.
Grusin. Who else, dude? Pat,
Pat
Marion?
Benatar was
Mary-
No,
not
no,
cheese
it's
jazz.
not.
Pat Benatar. She's
It's
easy
not
listening.
Pat Benatar.
Yeah. Marienthal? Pat? No, I'm blowing it. Eric Marienthal. Nah, I blew it.
No, but
See,
you're talking
okay, so
about.
you
You're
didn't
talking
grow
about.
up. You didn't grow up in California.
Nope.
So you grew up in. So you were from Jersey.
Oh, yeah.
We had. What was the radio station? The way.
94.7.
The way.
Sexy. That's pure sex. That's
And it was just like it was the worst shit. Like Kenny G would show up every once in a while.
Okay.
First of all, that's George Michael, you son of a bitch.
Wow. Okay, so
Let me just
Secondly-
back it up here a bit. That's what came to mind. I'm very drunk,
Yeah.
and I don't need you coming down on me like that right now. I was trying to hype you up, bitch.
We had the wave. So they would play the shittiest like elevator music.
okay.
And so my dad, he'd be like, "What's the matter? You can't sleep? Some sort of faggot?"
Oh my god. This is a horrible window into this relationship. Where you can't sleep. What are you, gay now, son?
So he'd be like, "You can't sleep? Listen to the radio." And I was like, "What the fuck?" And I was like, "I'm listening to fucking K-Rock, and all I can hear is fucking Nickelback, and all it does is piss me off. I'm not gonna fucking listen to K-Rock."
That's fair.
He's like, "Listen to the wave; it'll put you right to sleep." And I'd be like, "Fine." So I tried it a couple times, and you hear the worst elevator music, and all it did was get me fucking angry
And horny.
and a little bit horny.
Yeah, a little bit.
But then every once in a while,
Sax.
like it hit about 1 a.m, and then out of nowhere, lean on me when you're not strong. And I was like,
This is
the
amazing,
way?
actually.
Like,
I'm not allowed to be black if I can't harmonize like on cue like that.
Is that the rule? It's in the rule book?
Yes, it is. It is actually.
I'll never
That's
know.
There's a
I'll
part.
never know
That's
the
a part of having a black card. You.
The only
you have
thing I
to
was able
hit
to,
a
like-
hit a minor third.
the one thing I got from the wave, because every once in a while they played like a decent track.
Mm.
So
Yeah,
they
well,
played
that's
Lean on
true.
Me, right?
That's true. Yeah.
So like the only thing I got from that was the ability to go. If you want something to play with, go and find yourself a toy.
Dude, that is...
Was that Aaron Neville?
Oh, that was a Neville.
That was Aaron Neville. Yeah.
I can't believe you even had to say it. We all knew it
We
in
all
our
knew it
hearts.
was. We like. I smelled the cocoa butter when you said that.
Right now, somewhere 10 candles have been lit.
Yeah. You know what's tight? We don't have to edit any of this. This is amazing. Yeah.
So, all right. So, like, you're listening to the wave and
Yeah.
being shamed.
Absolutely.
My dad... Okay, so, like, think of, like, when you're in a car and you're listening to, like, I don't know, what's your favorite record right now? What are you listening to right now?
Right now?
Yeah.
Well, I'm going backwards.
Who cares?
What are you listening to right now?
Right now, I'm really on a Pink Floyd kick. for
Okay,
some reason.
great. Think about
wouldn't
the
have expected that.
craziest Pink Floyd beat that's going on in your head, and think about how you would drum to that, or like how you
Alright.
express music physically.
Mm.
Okay.
That's how my dad is when the wave comes on.
Oh dear.
Like, you know what I'm saying?
Oh,
Like
boy.
he'd be like, "Listen to this
It's
guy
like Chuck
shred."
Mangione just
It's
like,
like-
fucking.
And it's amazing. It's the best. Like, watching my dad listen to jazz
Mm.
is one of the greatest things. Like, because you don't realize how good it is until you see somebody who understands what's actually happening.
Yeah.
And it's like, because I'm listening to it, and I'm just like, yeah, this is...
And he's
this is-
yelling at you about Aldi Miola.
And he's just like, listen to this line. It's like... And he's just like... like, he's so into it. It's and you can't not be into it. You know, he's like so stoked. It's so good. I was like, man, this guy is... How would you not be into it with this man in the car? He's like drumming. He's like... He's like so into it. It's like, I'm listening to Radiohead doing it. He's like,
no.
no.
Not having
He's
it.
like, is this because we got divorced, son? You know? I'm like, no. I promise that there's nothing to do with that. You're fine. I'm glad. You're good. I get it. Yeah. It's so funny.
I fucking love Radiohead.
No. Adrian loves Radiohead.
Do you want to hear about the time I met them?
No.
Okay.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
what?
absolutely.
Shut up, Adrian.
Fucking
Yeah, we
yes.
do.
Okay. So my buddy John Marsh, we used to play in a band together. And they were playing, they were coming to the Hollywood Bowl. We looked up ticket prices at the Hollywood Bowl, and for some reason, it was like 2 a.m. So I'm going to say probably a little bit buzzed. I was like, I wonder what the cost of their tickets would be in another state at the same thing. I found out that a plane ticket and 4th row seats in Texas was still cheaper than a pit ticket in at the Hollywood Bowl. So I was like, we're going to Texas. So we go to Texas.
We're gonna mess with Texas.
Right. And it was amazing, right? We get to Dallas, and I'm like, this is going to be awesome. There is a video of us after the first day in Dallas where we get back, and he goes, how was Dallas? And I was like, I'm pretty sure there's only 4 people in the entire city of Dallas, because that's the only amount of people that I've seen in this entire city in the entire day of trying to find something to do. I don't know if it was like
What?
some kind of like drill where no one was allowed outside and we're just like these crazy people. But it was like, there was nothing happening. I was like, this is just such a weird place. But then we go to the show.
The
and
last. And
it
you
was,
saw 4.
it was amazing.
Okay.
We see them play. It was in Rainbow's tour, out of control.
Oh, Adrian.
After it's
dude,
over.
Wow.
After it's over,
He just fucked you up.
Okay.
Dude, with knowledge.
after it's over, I go to we go to the cab driver and we're like, hey, where do people go in this town? Because we tried to find people and there were none anywhere. And she's like, oh, first of all, you get off these streets. That's what you do. You guys are in literally the scariest place in town. Dress real nice. You're going to die here. And I was like, oh, shut night. So we get in the, she's like, second of all, I was like, so are you a cab driver? Actually, I'm curious now. And then she's like, second of all, you're going to go to the Ghost Bar. It's at W Hotel. And I'm
The
like,
Ghost
okay,
Bar.
Ghost Bar. We get there and the guy's like, hey, what's up, guys? What are you doing? We're like, yeah, we want to go to the Ghost Bar. He's like, no, that's closed. So you can hang out in the lobby. We were like, fuck it. All right. So we go to the lobby. There's like this actually pretty good DJ playing. The waitress, gorgeous. She looks like Jessica Alba. She's like sitting there talking. So we're like, you know what? This is a great ending.
Which iteration of Jessica Alba?
I'm gonna
Whenever
like
fucking In Rainbows was coming
into-
out, so like
No, no, no.
2007,
Into the Blue?
No, I'm talking Idle Hands. That's a deep cut.
Ooh.
That's a deep cut. Yeah. Idle Hands. Okay. So
Okay, yeah, continue.
All
please.
the women listening to this, if there were any, just went.
No.
no,
They didn't.
that's just a reference to what movie she looked
She
like.
was
They're
gorgeous.
They're
in
just
Idle
like,
Hands.
Yeah.
oh, they're talk. There's this boy talk.
Yeah.
I get it.
Okay.
I like it.
So she, anyway,
fly
she's
on
like
the
talking. To us.
wall.
We're actually like having a good time. The three of us like laughing, having a good time. And
She's
then
looking-
we're sitting outside, and we see a tour bus go by. And we were like laughing. We're like, yo, wouldn't that be crazy if Radiohead was just like gonna come and hang out in this bar right now? That'd be crazy. And then and we ask her, we're like, hey, John in particular is like super funny. He's like, hey, is that Radiohead's tour bus? And she's like, I don't know. Even if it was, I couldn't tell you. You know, like,
You're
it's,
right,
but it's
right,
not. You know. So we're like, mm-hmm. And so we like go outside, and there's like 4 blocks of gear, and some dude tries to come up to us playing it cool, and he's like, oh, hello, how you guys doing? Everything okay over here? And I was like, is this Radiohead's gear? And he's like, no, I have no idea what you're talking about. I was like, look, you can't have an English accent in Dallas. We've seen 6 people in the whole day now, and you're the only English one.
No, I'm from Austin myself. I just don't.
This is actually my
Ignore
family's
that.
accent. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just I like to put it out in the streets.
Yeah, exactly. So all of a sudden, so we're like, but we figured because you know that they just like ran right in the hotel because we didn't see them. We just saw the gear. So we're like, oh, that's crazy though. Like they're here. They're in the same building. That's enough. So I'm go back to the bar. I order another beer, and the beer comes, and then this dude comes up and just puts it down. And he's like, yeah, I'll take a Stella, please. And I just look over and I was like, oh my god, that's Tom York. And I just looked at him and I was like,
Holy shit!
I was like, Tom York. I said his whole name. and he just stops and he's like, yeah.
And he's like, hello.
Yeah,
It's me.
it's exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
What's up?
No, and I go, hey man, can I was the first thing I said was like, your set was incredible. That was amazing. I've never seen you. I waited 7 years to see you because I've just been like traveling around. I was like, that was incredible. Can I buy you guys around? And he's like, no, we don't pay for drinks, man. Don't worry about it. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like I know that now. And
Fuck.
so but no, it wasn't like in a cocky way. It was like a don't waste your money.
Right,
like
right,
we're
right,
fine.
right, right,
And so
right.
he goes and sits back down, and then immediately walking in, and this was pre me winning the
Continue,
remix contest, mind you.
Phil Selway.
Right. Okay. So I didn't have that connection with him yet.
Yeah.
But he walks in, and I just like pull him aside, and like I felt like Phil and Ed O'Brien in general were so stoked that like we knew, not like only knew their names, but like were equally as excited to see them
As you were talking
as everyone, like it, like just knowing the weight everyone carries in that
Yeah.
band, and it was like being able, and then so they all sat down, everybody's sitting down at the table, and John is like freaking, he's feeling it at this point. He's like, oh my god, dude, like he's like, what do we do? Should we take a picture? And I was like, no, let's not ruin this. Let's do it with some class. We're both pretty buzzed at this point. So I walk up, and we're on our way out. And I said, guys, sorry to interrupt. And they all stop. You know, Tom's like mid-sentence, and he's like, here it comes. And I'm like, thank you. I'm a producer. We've been making music forever. And every time I feel like I have some understanding or some grasp of how to make music, you guys release another record and remind me how much harder I need to push myself. And I will never be able to thank you enough for that gift. And thank you for being you and doing what you do. And, you know, after 7 years to see this show tonight was like perfect. And I hope you guys have an awesome stay out here, and just I appreciate every moment. And Tom just stops and he's like, 7 years. We've been around so many times. What's wrong with you? And I was like, I'm sorry. I wasn't there at the time. And he was like, and then we talked for like 5-10 minutes. And then I got to the point where I could tell like we were kind of like eating in on their personal like unwind time.
Yeah.
And I pulled John out. The two of us were like, let's go. But it was amazing.
That's
it was
awesome.
like to tell your idol like thank you.
Fuck yeah.
I hope that happens for everybody. Just go home and if you get a chance, reach out and say like thank you. And I could tell like as much as they were expecting me to say something drunken and stupid, and when I came out, like every one of them, even Tom, like he got that little smirk on his face. He was like, "That's okay. This is okay.
Right.
Yeah,
This is okay. This isn't horrible."
He's not annoyed. He's not.
Yeah.
This is a fanboy. He's like, this was genuine.
It just because there's a few bands I know that just they're inspiring.
I hope someday to fall mouth first on Trent Reznor's dick.
There you go. That could happen. There's a few circumstances.
Yeah, I'm down.
Circumstances.
Holy.
See what he did there?
What's up?
All
I'm
right.
back in the game.
So I mean, I'm pretty sure we should wrap this up, but I really don't want to. So I want to ask you something really quick.
Yeah, let's keep. I mean, we'll just I don't know pick the best.
Because we have a thing where we also like we go overtime.
Yeah, go ahead. Whatever
Right?
you want.
So, with everything you've gone through, being a producer, doing everything that you've done, now like really figuring yourself out as an artist, really knowing what it means and all that stuff. It's like, I've always told people, and we've had people on this podcast too, where I've told them it's like the most important thing in the world to me, as far as people I connect with, is like you believe in what you're doing and you do it for a reason, right? And for me, it's like you see people doing things, and it's got to be a form of therapy, to some degree, right? Now, I do things a certain way where it's like, I'm terrified to take the approach that you take, to be honest.
Okay.
As far as like, you're like, I've made the decision. I'm going to do this fucking full time, which is fucking badass. I've never gotten to that point. And I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
And I'm terrified. But I'm like so envious of that. It's fucking amazing. Like to me, it's just like, just that statement alone was fucking fantastic. I see it and I'm terrified to do that.
Yeah.
How the fuck did you get there?
So there's a couple different answers there. I think the first things first, which is I am at my core, I am very much like I need to see analytics.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It takes a lot for me to buy in and invest. I need to see P&L reports. I need to see things that are working. And I'm not somebody that just believes. I do need a lot of validation, and people on my team will tell you how much validation I need. It's ridiculous, and I'm working on that. But I think there comes a point where, and I think at first I thought it was monetary. I think that, and then it became play counts. How many plays does this get? How many you chase this impossible thing, but I think through working with a lot of other people who are working at very high levels and the amount of anxiety that comes with getting to a place where you believe and you can create on a full-time regular basis a full-time job. Part of that is routine, your daily routine, your vitality work. How are you taking care of yourself every day? What is the life that you have that includes that? Because most of the time, the sacrifices you make to do the thing you want to do are too great. In my opinion, from my experience, everything I tried to do to just like, I cut out a lot of things and I put this pressure on everything I was doing, and it was unrealistic. It wasn't fair. And I had to analyze what my reasons were. So how do I get to a point where I'm ready to just say, I'm going to be an artist full time? I've had validation from amazing people who not just about, like Phil Selway and Jay-Z, people like that, which is amazing. But it's the moments where I get the emails from people in other countries, people locally, and they say, I was having a really, really horrible time in my life, and your record got me through that, and thank you. Just that email, like, I was done.
Yeah.
You know, and
Yeah.
and it's, you know, I had 2 weeks ago, I got a girl on Instagram, and she just sent me a video of her with Aun Minta, that record artwork, on her TV, listening to a song called Eyes Open Shut with her feet kicked up. And she just said after, you know, it was just like a heart. And I was like, this is in the Ukraine. And,
That's awesome.
And I think that, like, I've had enough validation at this point to know that it's at this point, it's my own ego that's getting in the way. And I've built myself a studio and a workflow and a signal flow that allows me to make the best possible music that I can make. I've gotten all the excuses off the table. I've tried to make a career as a full-time producer and doing corporate work and doing remixes and doing all these other things. I've tried everything else. And I know that at the end of the day, the thing that I enjoy the process as much as I enjoy the product is sitting in a room and fiddling around with synths and piano and drums and guitar and expressing myself in a comfortable, clean way. And if I have to work a few extra day job hours a week, whatever it is, who cares?
Right.
Because at the end of the day, like, that's the secret, is wanting it and not needing it. And that's how I work. And it's not for everybody. Some people need to be cornered to make the best stuff. For me, I need to be happy, and I need to be healthy, and I need to be living a life that I can sustain for a long period of time. And once I found that without music, once I knew that I could wake up right now, I have amazing friends, I have amazing family, I have amazing things to look forward to, I take care of myself, like, I have a great situation, I'm financially stable. You know, to be an independent musician and have a 401k is ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's things that I didn't realize were more important to me than, like, what's this? And the other thing is expectations. And I've realized now that, like,
because you have to compromise a little bit from who you were. Right?
Yeah. And I think the expectations, managing expectations is the key, and creating boundaries. Those two things have been my lesson, and saying, you know what, like, what I want is to contribute something beautiful consistently, once or twice a year, putting out records once or twice a year. I've never done that.
Right.
I'm always, like, so crazy because I'm working on 50 million projects trying to just, like, make ends meet. That's not right for me. And so, you know, finding balance in a joy in your daily life, and then letting your creative life support that, and putting it in as part of, and treating it like another job. It is a job. I show up. I literally, like, I go do things. I sit down, and it's like, okay, like, I got to clock in right now.
Dude.
And I do that.
That is.
And then when it's done, but it's also done when it's done. I don't, like, push. I have 5 hours is as long as I can work.
Yeah.
That's it. 5 hours is, like, I know I'm not doing any service to anyone or anything I'm touching. Done. I'm clock out, call my friend, go on a run, go meet somebody, go do things.
Not related to, like, what
anything.
you're doing at all.
And that's the thing, is, like, if you're gonna do it, you know, make sure that you have a happy life without it. And I think it's like dating someone. I think it's like a lot of things. You know what I mean? Like, you can't depend on it for your joy and for all of the things in your life. I think it just needs to be a bonus in your life, and something that can at any point be a sustainable. And honestly, having any passive income, even if it's paying for your groceries every month, who cares?
Right.
You know, like, you don't have to do anything. You're just contributing something to the world that's beautiful. It's not dark. It's not crazy. And at the end of it, you know, whatever you got to do to make that happen, do it, because you know you're doing more. You're not defined by whatever your day job is. Who cares? And I know I keep saying that because it's like this culture, it's bastardized the idea of having a day job, and it's not okay.
Yeah.
Day jobs are there because they're supposed to support the things that you love doing the most, and I love it.
Yes.
That's a very, like, LA thing, you know, like, nobody talks about their day job.
Yeah, because you're like you're an idiot. You're like, you failed at something if you did
like,
the same.
Oh, you have a day job.
Oh, you have a day job, so you're not this. Dude, thank you so much for fucking saying that.
Nah, dude, I'm a perfect example. Like, I choose to love working day jobs because I get to create openly, freely, whenever I want, and it takes the pressure off. And I'm not somebody that needs to be, you know, cornered and going through horrible shit to make art all the time. Some people need that. That's not for me. So my answer, I know I've been really, really scattered, and I apologize, but it's a few answers, which is, you know, find joy and balance in a daily routine that allows music to be a part of that on a constant basis. Have validation and you know, do obviously, like, do what you got to do to get to a level professionally and sonically, and surround yourself with people who validate what you're doing to where you feel confident and you feel comfortable. And some people don't ever need that. I'm not one of them. So for me, find people who will humble you all the time and surround yourself with those people, because they constantly make you feel like a baby.
Yeah,
in the best way. And I know I send them stuff and they're like, oh, cool. So when are you going to make a real record?
Like, that's
So
cute.
So like that's the key, like just be with real people, make real shit, have fun. Don't lose the fun. That's my answer, man. That's how I know. I'm having fun and I'm making music and I'm making, and I'm doing okay. I'm surviving,
We have to get our guests drunk every time that we do this podcast.
I don't know where this is going after this drink, but tune in next time.
Dude, I am so fucking happy to know you, man.
No, likewise, man. Thanks for having me out here.
Dude, you're fucking
Good treat.
awesome.
Thank
I
you.
knew this was gonna be a good one. And honestly, like ulterior motives was like, yo, dude, we're gonna get Adam on here and then we're gonna ask him to fucking produce our next record.
That was the goal. Yeah, there's only one way out of here, Adam.
You're gonna produce our record tonight. You.
And he's like, fuck you, I'm doing my own shit.
Yeah, I'm done with y'all.
I want to be spaghetti.
I mean, listen, just have your people talk to my people, and we'll talk. We'll talk. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, they'll go back to you, dude.
For sure. Yeah.
Sounds
great.
definitely.
Well, dude, this has been fucking great.
Yeah, I've
Thank
had a
you
blast,
so
man.
much.
Thanks for having me.
I mean, the camera's
Thank
gonna
you for
stop,
coming.
the audio's gonna stop, but I want to keep kicking it if you're down.
I'm down, dude. Yeah.
Let's keep kicking it. You guys are gonna see the cool shit that goes down. You know what? That's your own fault.
Sorry,
Because
guys.
you're not tight.
What a horrible thing to say to your 1,000, dude.
You ruined it.
You just lost 500 of your 1,000 right there. Yeah, you're not here for the good part. All this was just bullshit. So
Here's the cool thing about our 1,000 when we finally get them. All right,
here it is.
if we ever get them,
Close up.
Yeah, we'll get them.
The cool thing
When
we
them.
get our 1,000.
That's right. That's the mentality I like.
dude. We want to hang out with you.
Mm.
We can hang out with
That's the
1,000 of you.
thing.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
The,
We can
the
do
whole
that.
thing about this is like, if we get 1,000,
Yeah.
these are the people that we wanted in our lives the entire time. The people who understand what the fuck we do, because
Uh-huh.
we've always been the others and everything we've ever done.
Yeah.
So if we finally get the 1,000 who fucking get it,
Mhm.
dude, we want to be your friends.
True
that's
homies. Yeah, yeah. We'll be blood brothers.
Hit me up. Let's kick it. Let's
That's
drink some
beautiful, man.
Casamigos.
I thought we weren't gonna say it. I thought you couldn't say it.
I don't give a fuck. George Clooney's part of my 1,000. Let's kiss.